Hello once again, guys. My name is Adrian and welcome to Rabona TV's preview of the Champions League quarterfinals. We'll go through all of the teams and ties to set the stage for you. And hey, if you find yourself enjoying the content and want to find your way back to us for more videos like this, deep dives into the state of clubs, concept explainers from the wide world of football, and more, then be sure to subscribe. And if you want to double down and want to ensure that you are completely up to date on all things Champions League, then the sponsor for this video, OneFootball, has you covered. OneFootball has the best football app out there, allowing you to customize your newsfeed to the players, clubs, and competitions, hell, even the countries you care the most about. Give them a follow in the app and bam, your homepage is filled with news stories you'll enjoy, and they'll even send you breaking news notifications for those clubs and competitions you follow. Plus, you can track transfers, watch videos and highlights, follow along matches live with their match tickers, and so much more, all within the app. Use the link in the description for a free download on iOS or Android, and you'll be oh so happy that you did. Thanks again, OneFootball, for supporting an independent creator like myself. It's just me here. Paco is a myth. Editor Adrian, well, he's real. Another meeting between these two historic clubs, the club with the most European Cup titles versus one of the teams with the third most. Both teams have won the competition in the last 3 years. They faced off in the final in 2018. I mean, what's not to love here? Besides, of course, the fact that they aren't at their full powers this season. Though, well, perhaps that's not entirely fair to say in Real Madrid's case. Not entirely. But we'll get to them later, as Liverpool are first on deck here during a season that, at least when it comes to their domestic form, they would sooner rather forget. After winning their first Premier League title in 30 years, Klopp's side has been plummeting through the standings. At the time of recording this during the March international break, they sit in 7th place, 25 points behind first place Manchester City with a match in hand. Of course, this is in part due to the injuries they sustained in the center back positions. All three were out with long-term injuries by November, which have caused a ripple effect throughout the squad. Midfielders were pulled from their normal positions in the midfield, causing a weakness there in the midfield, as well as in the defense, as they're not natural defenders. The attack has faltered thanks to the lack of the midfield. I mean, it's been a nightmare for Klopp to contend with. But in the Champions League, at least so far, they have been mostly good, save a 2-0 loss at home against Atalanta. But despite their defense being their biggest issue, they were able to get through RB Leipzig unscathed, 2 clean sheets, and some gifts from Leipzig's defense aside, they navigated them well, and the attack looked good as well in the cases of Mane and Salah. On top of that, the emergence of Nat Phillips at the heart of Liverpool's defense, who was one of the stars against Leipzig in the second leg, and later against Wolves, as Liverpool has had over 18 different center-back pairings this season. That's wild. But now, perhaps there are some reasons to be optimistic around them again. I mean, I know it sounds crazy saying perhaps there are reasons to be optimistic given they are fresh off of that league title and not long ago they won the Champions League, but it really has been a dire situation at Liverpool, namely their home form as of late. Now, Real Madrid, on the other hand, have also had their fair share of injuries this season. This really is the injury crisis derby, man. Two teams that have had their squads absolutely torched this season, and as mentioned in our video on Hazard's injury cycle, they have had 41 separate injuries at Real Madrid, almost twice that of their biggest rivals domestically. This is something that seems to be consistently left out by the people in my field. I was guilty of that as well. Just how many injuries Zidane has had to contend with this season. And despite that, they're the lone Spanish side in the Champions League, despite having a rocky group stage, which they notably lost both ties against Shakhtar, and then overcame Atalanta quite easily, especially in the second leg. And how did they do it? You gotta give Zidane a lot of credit for that. He changed the shape of Real Madrid, playing a 3-5-2, something he'd never done. And the added coverage and defense completely nullified what is usually a free-flowing Atalanta attack. Adding to the fact that Sergio Ramos is back amongst their ranks to organize things defensively, how well Nacho has been playing, how well Lucas Vazquez has been of late, Casemiro's excellence, and Real Madrid are suddenly looking very much assured defensively out of nowhere. And of course, Thibaut Courtois is looking solid in goal, as has been the case of the past couple of seasons. This plus an untethered Modric in midfield who is simply defying his age at 35. Liverpool also have a similar situation developing in which the return of Fabinho to the midfield has allowed Thiago to push further up, dictate the tempo and spray passes around. The guy who they invested in is starting to show up. though Liverpool isn't quite operating to the same degree that Madrid is at the moment. You have one side that is undefeated in their last 10 matches, winning 8 of them, and the other who has won 4 and lost 6 of their last 10 matches. I mean, it gets worse for Liverpool when you look back at the last 20. 8 wins from 20. If you had asked me at the beginning of the season which team would be better this season, it would be Liverpool all day. But with the frailties they have in defense and an attack that can go missing without a moment's notice, it makes it difficult to look past this experienced Madrid side. Experience is something Liverpool boasts as well, but they haven't looked much like Liverpool lately. I'm thinking Real makes it through, as I know you guys won't let me out of here alive without providing a prediction. Where are your quarterfinal predictions? Where are they? Where are they? Constantly recently. Here they are. Just remember to, pick the opposite of me based off of my round of 16 performance. Group stage, great. Round of 16, terrible. Another rematch of a recent Champions League final, a very recent Champions League final indeed, as Bayern Munich overcame PSG in the final last August with a 1-0 scoreline. Kingsley Coman, of course, doing his old team dirty with the header to secure the continental success for the Bavarian Giants. PSG were great last season in the Champions League under Tuchel, making their first final, boasting one of the best defenses in the entire tournament. But Bayern was just a different animal in 2019-20, and while they had a bit of a bobble this season in January and then again in February, it's been smooth sailing from there. They made extremely light work of Lazio, beating them 6-2 on aggregate, and domestically, they're on a 4-match winning run at the time of recording this video. That's 6 wins on the trot across all competitions. However, they certainly have some tests coming up. First, RB Leipzig in the Bundesliga, then PSG. We'll see how good they are, especially with Davies picking up a 2-match suspension domestically. But glass half full for them, that will at least ensure that he'll be fresh for the matches against PSG for Flick's side, who lead the Bundesliga and don't have any suspensions to worry about against PSG, nor is their injury list particularly long. Tolisso and Douglas Costa, the only worries. So Bayern will be at basically full strength, saving any random injuries during the international break or in their matches against Leipzig, and then Union after the first leg. They're playing largely the same brand of football that you became familiar with under Flick, with Kimmich and Goretzka continuing as one of the best midfield pairings in Europe. Sané, Coman, Gnabry, those guys all providing width and pace down the flanks, running behind. Muller being Muller and doing everything, and Lewandowski as the goal threat in a 4-2-3-1 over and over and over again. I guess the thinking is, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Curiously, Lewandowski has scored against PSG only once in the 5 matches that he has played against them, but he's a different breed this season, it feels like, at least domestically. Now, PSG could find some joy up against this Bayern defense. However, last season, that was seen as one of the weaknesses for Bayern in the run-up to the Champions League final, and that will continue to be the case this season and will be seen as something that opposition can exploit. For all of their strength in midfield and the attack, the center-back pairings tend to be a bit of a Boateng +1 situation lately. And with the weapons PSG have in the attack, we'll see if they can exploit it. In last season's final, they certainly found ways through. It wasn't a revolving door, so to speak, of PSG attackers constantly breaking through uncontested by any means, but it's not as if they were completely iced out either. They got in behind on a few occasions. Neymar, he's returned for PSG, which is a massive boost for Mauricio Pochettino, as he will go head-to-head with Pavard down that left flank, and no doubt will make a few runs at Boateng, who typically plays on that side as well. Since Pochettino's arrival, by the way, Icardi has been played more often, and while he isn't a free-scoring striker, he does provide good link-up in the attack for wall passes, etc. And considering he didn't get a single minute in the final, I do wonder if his presence in pulling defenders away and making space for Neymar and Mbappe to run in behind will be a difference maker this time. At the back, PSG continued to be solid, though the fullback positions don't have me completely convinced, despite Florenzi looking good against what was a very lost FC Barcelona side. Kurzawa was getting absolutely destroyed by Dest down that right flank, so it makes you wonder just how things will look with either Gnabry or Coman or Leroy Sané down that right-hand side. I'm just happy that we got 2 legs of Bayern versus PSG, as this is a marquee matchup in the quarterfinals. Interested to see if Lewandowski can find some further goal-scoring form, as he sits on just 5 goals this season in the Champions League. If Neymar and co will have enough of a chip on their shoulder to overcome the European champions, get that revenge. Something tells me that they might, but I still think that Bayern are building back up at the business end of the season and will see this challenge through. Bayern for Adrian. Well, we have a team that isn't having the most convincing season versus a team that is threatening to win the quadruple. Guardiola's Manchester City have shown this season that you don't really need a striker in order to be a dangerous attacking side. Or at least, if you're Manchester City, you don't. As they have managed just fine without their previous danger man in Sergio Aguero, for example. Instead, we've seen a mix of, Ferran Torres early doors as a false nine, Sterling, Bernardo Silva, etc. Constantly roaming around and swapping with the more wide players in the attack, while Gabriel Jesus has come on to faff about now and then, and sometimes quite successfully, and other times, well, he's just faffing about. And yet, despite this, City have rocketed to the top of the Premier League table, where they currently hold a 14-point lead over a United side that has a match in hand still, as City's defense somewhat surprisingly has been their biggest strength. Strong Guardiola City sides of the past would score for fun. And while the offense isn't really an issue, thanks to the likes of De Bruyne and Gundogan stepping up in the attack, Riyad Mahrez has also had one of his better seasons for City this year. Sterling is in on the goals. Foden could be a generational talent. I mean, they have plenty of attacking verve. Yeah, back to their defense. Sorry, I got sidetracked there. It continues to impress thanks to, in my opinion, not only the solidity that Ruben Dias adds, but the organization and the leadership he adds. They're a team transformed. And while Cancelo isn't a brick wall in defense, what he brings to them going forward has been just incredible. And with players who can deliver crosses and balls into the box like Cancelo, Borussia Dortmund's already shaky defense is going to be put to the test big time. You get the feeling if they play in a very open way with a high line that the City side will scorch them. But if they sit deep and play defensively, they'll get scorched in that way as well. This one does feel like Dortmund may have to adopt a let's try to outscore them sort of approach. Is it likely that they adopt this one? I would say no. But is it likely that their defense will be able to deal with the likes of Gundogan and De Bruyne making delayed runs in, Foden, Mahrez, or Bernardo dribbling at them, and the pace of Sterling if they are to sit deep? I don't know, man. They showed against Sevilla that they can be a stunning counter-attacking side. Almost all of the goals they scored against the out-of-sorts Sevilla defense came from the counter, and this was a Sevilla side that had previously defended extremely well in the lead-up to their first leg against Dortmund. 7 consecutive clean sheets aren't a fluke. Haaland, Sancho, Royce. Though Royce has regressed a bit this season, it does feel like. He's still an incredible player, but has lost a bit of an edge, it feels like. But yeah, Dortmund certainly have weapons in the attack, not to mention Hazard, It's just their defending that spooks me. Sevilla scored 4 goals against them, and I think Manchester City could score a lot more than that. I actually have City as one of the favorites for this season in the Champions League. Let's see if they can deliver on the hype and get past Dortmund first and foremost, like I think they will. And finally, we have the battle of the Blue Boys, Chelsea's newly tooled side with Thomas Tuchel versus Sergio Conceição and Porto. FC Porto, of course, were quite impressive in their victory over Juve. Say what you will about the current state of Juve, whatever. Porto showed incredible resilience, especially after going down a man in the second leg, and resilience and fight are one of the greatest assets that this Porto side can boast going up against Chelsea, even if they will be without Mehdi Taremi and Sergio Oliveira for the first leg, the latter being the biggest miss, as their midfield workhorse also provides a lot of quality from set-piece situations. The way that Porto organized their defense is extremely impressive, with guys like, Manafa, Pepe, Mbemba, Sarr, and Zaidu all thriving back there. And Marquezine is massive in goal. The midfield is decent. Corona down the flanks provides tons of trickery, but in the attack, without Taremi and just Marega, I worry a bit for them. But much like Porto in general, sleep on Musa Marega at your own peril, man. Chelsea, on the other hand, have been transformed under Tuchel and boast what is probably the best defense in Europe since he took over at the end of January. 14 matches played under Tuchel, 2 goals conceded, one of which being a moment of madness own goal from Antonio Rudiger. But Rudiger is actually he's one of the perfect poster boys of just how this side has turned around under Tuchel. He went from looking like a man on the outs to the man in their defense. So solid, he drives forward well with the ball at his feet, And when he does so, Tuchel's 3-4-2-1 formation ensures that one of either Kovacic or Kante or Jorginho will cover him while he roves forward. The defensive cover of this team is outstanding. And Mendy is looking unbeatable in goal once again, much like when he first arrived at the club. Going forward, they aren't the finished article just yet. I think there's some fine-tuning to do there, but they are showing signs of improvement. It looks as though Havertz has that false 9 position nailed down, and Ziyech has found some form and a goal-scoring touch to boot. The only question mark is above Werner, I think, and whether he'll get dropped for Mount soon, which certainly feels inevitable. Unless Mount is to play deeper, I don't know. I think that this matchup has a tedious watch written all over it, but here's hoping that won't be the case. I'm optimistic. With all of the fight that Porto has shown, the run has been admirable, but I just feel like they will have far too many difficulties scoring against this Chelsea defense. I think it will be a low-scoring tie, with Chelsea making it through, largely thanks to that first leg win, without Oliveira and Taremi there for Porto. And that's all for this video. Hopefully this is enough to set the stage for you ahead of the Champions League quarterfinals. Again, if you enjoyed this video and the content, then subscribe if you're new to join our growing community. But beyond that, I thank you for your time. My name is Adrian, this is Rabona TV, and enjoy the quarters. Ciao.